What's up, dude?
Hey, how are you?
I am fantastic, my friend.
Awesome. You can hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you just fine, man.
Great.
All right.
Hey, appreciate you taking the time. Um, we'll just go ahead and get started here. Steve Paul here, and I'm with a really good dude here, Stephen Christopher, and he is CEO, founder of WIT. WIT Media, I believe, is exactly it, correct?
Wit Digital.
WIT
It's all
Digital.
the same.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. And I'm getting rid of the glasses. And one of the reasons I really wanted to talk to you, Stephen, is because I've always known you as an innovator. And I also know you as a guy, that had to turn things around from one of your earlier business ventures. And,
Yeah.
um, I have a lot of respect for that, business owner to business owner. And so given everything that's going on with the corona crisis, I think it's important to tell these stories of small businesses, success stories, what you're having to deal with right now. So go ahead
Yeah.
and jump into it.
Awesome, man. I mean, so my last epic business fail, we'll call it, was the mortgage industry in 2008. So I owned a mortgage company. In 2008, we went from making money to making no money really, really quick. So over the course of about 72 hours, went from being a profitable business to having zero income whatsoever. Got left with like $100,000 plus in debt, and really didn't really know what else to do after that. And so that was a great lesson for me, because I learned that a lot of the things that we feel like are going to be this epic just failure, and we're going to end up homeless and broke and divorced and lying in a ditch and just no hope whatsoever in the moment. uh, Pretty much everybody I've ever talked to, and I'm sure that you can resonate with this, everybody I've ever talked to that's been through that comes out and says that those are like the best learning experiences ever. But it can be hard in the moment to realize that it's a learning experience when we're actually down in it and we don't have any money and we don't have any, we can't see the future yet. We can't, look back on it and say, oh, wow, that was a great experience. We're in the middle of it. It's really hard to take it for a positive or be open to learning the lesson from it. And so I think once you go through it once, some people takes twice, some people maybe three times, but once you go through it at least once and you take a step back and you can look at it and say, hey, I learned so much from this, and I wouldn't be the person that I am today if that had not have happened. Or, I wouldn't be as far along as I am today if that had not happened. Um, it, Until you've gone through it once or twice, you might not be able to more easily look at it during something like this and see the value, or at least the potential value. Because I mean, I'll admit, like right now, it's uncomfortable, right? There's so many unknowns, but I'm looking at it day to day and saying, hey, there's massive opportunity in this, and we're all going to come out of it fine. We're all going to have somewhere to live. We're all going to be able to eat. Our basic needs will be met, but what's the opportunity in it? And even though I don't necessarily know exactly what it is when we're standing in it, I know that when we look back in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever that is, we're going to be sitting here having a conversation going, hey, Steve, remember coronavirus 2020? And man, I learned this and this and this and this.
Well, so this, Steve, that's one of the great things about entrepreneurs like you, is that, I mean, you packaged a lot of stuff right there. I mean, to come out of it with this optimism. And you're right, it's not easy when you're going through it, because we're talking about when you're going through it, you're talking about, waking up in the middle of the night every night, 4 or 5 times, wondering, what do I do next? You're talking about feeling throw up sick. You're talking about, I have to go face people that I owe money to. How am I going to deal with this? And probably even, how many times it may have crossed your mind, okay, some people declare bankruptcy. Should I declare bankruptcy? You might have even had people telling you that. So there's a lot in going through this to come to this point that you've come to.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, looking back at it now, what I would tell people is there's a lot of things that we don't have control over right now, right? Like, we don't really, for the most part, none of us have control over what the government's going to do and what they're going to open and what they're going to close and all of that. I mean, look, if that's your passion, great, go in that, go deal with that. But most of us aren't going to have choice around what they end up doing. So the things that we don't have control over, the faster that we can release those, the things that we don't have control over and we're not going to do anything about, right? There's a lot of people out there complaining about, oh, the government this and shutting down that, but they're not actually doing anything about it. So if you're not going to do anything about it, then just stop thinking about and focusing on the things that you don't have control over and focus on the couple things that we do. We always have control over our thoughts. What do we choose to think? What do we choose to feel? And a lot of people don't like hearing that because, sorry, you're the one that controls how you feel. And I personally believe, and I think you do too, Steve, that thoughts become things, right? So thoughts become things. So if we're waking up every day thinking about bankruptcy, foreclosure, living under a bridge in a cardboard box, divorce, whatever that is, if that's what we're thinking about, we're ultimately moving towards that and we're going in that direction. So as hard as it is, and trust me, like our business is very fortunate during this time. The last one we weren't, but this one we're much more fortunate. So I get it that it's hard to choose in those moments, but I mean, you have to do it.
You're right. You have to do it. And I think, and I want everybody listening to this to realize that Stephen and I don't believe that this is trivial at all, what you may be going through. Because this is a horrible, horrible thing. Financial devastation, people are dying, people are getting sick. We just want you to understand that, and what I'm hearing from you is there's a positive way, there's choices you can make on how to deal with this much more effectively.
Yeah. Or just even sometimes just recognizing that you have choice, because our brains will get going down a path. And like I said, before you know it, you're living under a bridge, broke, homeless, raccoons are peeing on you. Like your brain will go down that path that fast. But you have to stop and ask yourself, okay, is this really true? Do I know for sure that I'm about to be living under a bridge? And generally the answer is no. And so we need to be cautious of what we're actually believing that our brain is saying to us. Because that monkey mind, that ego mind, man, that thing chatters all day long. And Steve, most of the time it's not even close to being true. But yet, if we don't become aware of it, we can follow that path. And before we know it, we're like, oh, well, my brain told me that I'm about to be bankrupt and everything's going to fall apart. So yeah, I mean, you're right. Like this is serious. There's a lot of serious stuff happening that's going to have a big implication. I mean, the worst thing is the people that are getting sick and losing family members. And, that's terrible. But if you're not directly impacted by that, choose wisely what you're believing in, because just because you have a thought doesn't mean that it's true. And so just like taking a step back and disassociating a little bit from these crazy thoughts that we're having, and it'll help us make better decisions. It'll help us choose better. Like there's something that kind of feels good about almost like feeling sorry for ourselves for a little bit. And that's okay. Feel sorry for yourself for like 5 minutes and then be like, okay, you know what? I chose the path of entrepreneurship or starting a business or doing this, and I'm going to do the best that I can right now. And that's all I can do.
So one of the things that is coming through strongly here is your optimistic outlook, which is so great. And I think that a really cool thing is how many more resources are available to us right now to help us with this right way of thinking, of making these good choices. And even following you, for example, your LinkedIn posts and your Facebook posts, there's some incredibly great messaging there. I'd like to shift over to what you said earlier about your business. You're fortunate that your business is doing well. Tell us how you're helping people now, and tell us, have you had to make changes in doing business now, change your approach? What's going on? Tell us the good and the bad.
Yeah. So the bad is the mental game. It can be frustrating and disheartening some days when I can't get my mind straight. That's frustrating. And there's some real things like we have clients that are struggling, and so we're losing. We have lost some revenue because of it. But on the flip side of that, since I've been through 2008 and really, just done, wiped everything out. I was living on a buddy's couch for 3 months, not paying rent. So it was close to as bad as you could possibly get. I was fortunate that was in my mid 20s. I didn't have anything. So, there was nothing for anybody to take from me really. I was riding my bike to work. So I was like, all right, come get the bike. But so since I've been through that and learned my lessons, like learned how to be mentally resilient through something like that, I've taken a different approach this time. And I always ask myself this question: if I fast forward 5 or 10 years into the future, and I turn around and look back at myself now, what will I wish that I could say about how I handled this in the future? And when you think about that, very few people are going to say, or really nobody's going to say, they wish they could look back and say, you know what? I wish I had sat on the couch more and pouted more and felt sorry for myself more. They're going to look back and say, you know what? I did the best that I could, and I gave it my all. And I used that time to build relationships with family and team and all of that. So I'm always asking myself that question. So now during this crisis, I look back and I say, you know what? I wish I approached it from a standpoint of, hey, there's a lot of opportunity. I don't know what it is, but let's find it. So far, actually in the last 4-6 weeks, I guess now, since this has all started, we've hired 3 people.
Fantastic.
We're trying to give, we're trying to help as much as we can and take advantage of opportunities that exist. We couldn't really quite afford to hire all those people. We could, but it was not, without this, it would not be necessarily always the best decision. But we chose differently this time and chose to reinvest in the people out there that need work and that are willing to and interested in working hard.
That is so great that you've been able to hire people. And you're under that additional pressure of you have to make payroll. And for the freelancer out there, sure, you have to make your own bills and you have your own issues to deal with. But as an owner that has employees, you have a staff, you have a team, that's a big deal, making sure that you are going to make payroll every week or every month or however it is.
Yeah. We're keeping them, their families fed. And we're fortunate. We have a great culture and they realize it and they're thankful for it. But they still don't realize, 50 or 60% of what's going on behind the scenes to make sure that happens. But that's our job as leaders to, I think, protect them from that and help release some of their fears and make them feel confident and comfortable as best we can, so that now they can focus on the things that they're great at, building relationships with their team or with their families, living the best life that they can, and of course helping our clients right now. That's how we're going to come out of this thing better on the other side.
Absolutely. I heard 3 really good points there, including, basically staying calm. That's that leadership of finding these opportunities, and transparency. I think is so important in these kinds of situations, and then helping your clients. How are you helping your clients right now? What are you doing differently, or how are you reaching out to them to make sure they're okay?
Every way possible. So, reaching out to them, email, phone, text, doesn't matter. We talk a lot in our client experience team about just get a hold of them no matter what. Find a way to get a hold of them, see how they're doing, see what they need, see how they're feeling, see how we can better support them. I've been offering business coaching or just leadership coaching or mental coaching, whatever they need that's way outside of what we actually do as a business, to try to help them through this. So whatever we can do to help, we're there. And then our team is doing just a lot of extra work. I mean, we're pushing harder than we probably ever pushed to get our clients results when it comes, especially to the digital side. And a lot of really cool things are coming out of it. Like we're finding new opportunities to grow their businesses and help their customers and clients feel more confident using their business. So it's just, we got a lot of extra time in the day, right? Like nobody's commuting to work. At least most people aren't. You don't, I mean, it sounds silly, but look, everybody's going to agree with me. You don't have to shower every morning and get ready for work, right? When you get out of bed, like I did put on real pants for this call, but I have done a bunch of interviews where I'm sitting in like sweatpants or workout shorts, and like there's a lot of time and energy that we're getting back right now. So use it wisely.
You know, so it is so wonderful to hear you talking, Stephen. And for anybody listening out there, I think that it's important that they know that this is really you. This is who you are. Jumping in when the times are tough and helping out your customers, being creative. How do we figure this out? There's opportunities out there. Let's help them through it. And tell me, most of your customer base, I know that for quite a while you had a lot of service companies, home service companies. Is that still the case? Tell us a little bit about your demographic of clients and some of what are the things that they're experiencing?
Yeah, so a lot of our clients are essential businesses. So they are home service companies, plumbing, HVAC, electrical. They're essential service companies. So they're experiencing very interesting times. There's a lot of concerns from people with having somebody come into their home and offer a service. So they're going through a lot of things that they've never thought of. Like, okay, how do we sanitize our trucks every single day? How do we do no contact service calls? So what they'll do a lot of times is they'll pull up in front of the house, FaceTime or video time with the customer. Customer will show them kind of where things are, or what the potential issue is. And then if the customer chooses to, they can actually go in another part of their home, open the door, the tech can go in, they know where they're going based on the video. They can fix the problem. And then if the customer wants them to, they can actually exit the home and have a follow-up call saying, okay, here's what I did. This is completed. Please test this. I wiped this down. I wore shoe covers. So they're having to learn different ways to offer different types of things to help people feel comfortable and to keep their families safe as well.
That's a whole new set of protocols. Do you see that changing anytime soon?
That's a great question. I mean, we're already seeing it change with some of our clients in some areas. People just seem to not be as worried about it. So the technicians are still wearing masks and all the proper stuff, and they're still disinfecting the vans and everything, or their trucks, but the customers don't seem to care as much. So like business for a lot of our clients is actually already starting to increase. People are welcoming people back into their home to fix stuff that's not even quite truly essential right now. And then in other markets, we're seeing it like businesses way down. Nobody wants anybody near their house. They're waiting as long as they can. If a toilet breaks, they're just turning it off. They're like, well, we'll deal with that later when it's safe. So it's kind of a market by market thing right now. And for our clients, it's an education process. So the clients that are educating their customers and solving their concerns and their needs, those are the ones that are still doing okay. Even the ones that are in markets that are a lot more challenging. It's just thinking like, what are our customers' concerns? How do we proactively solve those so that we can still keep our staff busy and still serve clients that need what we do?
So really making sure you're solving customers' concerns and educating them as well. I imagine that you've actually, I imagine most of your clients are already being, a step ahead or two steps ahead of most companies simply because they're working with you, for example. But I mean, it seems to me that that the examples you're giving, they're actually raising their game at the same time.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I mean, even like if I looked back now to the mortgage industry in 2008, like when that hit, one, I wasn't paying enough attention to what was going on in the market of things that could impact our business, right? Again, things that are kind of out of our control. I wasn't paying attention to those. The writing was clearly on the wall, but I was a younger entrepreneur and just didn't know that something external could have such a big influence on me. But now looking back, I could have done a lot of things differently to raise our game and really been fine through it. It would have hurt, but would have come out the other side okay. And so I think that, Steve, you hear it all the time with businesses, like the biggest growth happens when things are the most challenging. And this is where innovation happens. And this is where people step up their game. Like, I don't know, like a lot of our big clients, why would you ever go back to doing things another way? Because it gives you a leg up on your competition. It gets to show people, hey, we sanitize our trucks inside and out every single day, and we wear this type of protective gear, and we offer this type of no contact service call if you desire to do something like that. Like, why wouldn't you offer all of that stuff?
Yeah, I definitely see some new habits that I've acquired that it's like, I should be doing this going forward all the time. And why wasn't I being more careful in the past? And I could even see things like as simple as, okay, you go into someone's reception desk and there's the candy dish and you have to stick your hand in there for it. I mean, everything you can think about seems to be changing. One thing I want to ask you about is I know that in Denver, for example, the construction market really picked up, really got hot about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and a lot of new businesses started. I'm wondering if you have some of those new businesses as your clients, and if this is really their first exposure to any kind of serious adversity here and how they're getting through it.
Yeah, we have, not specifically on the construction side. We have some clients that are in construction, but they've been in there for a long, long time. But we do have younger businesses that haven't been through anything like this, and younger owners that are like still in their 20s. And this is their first experience with anything like this. And I see, based on the circles that they hang out in and their mentors and what coaching groups they're part of and stuff, their mindset is better than a lot of the people that have been through this once or twice. Like, they're facing it head on, they're ready for it. They're just charging in saying, okay, we're going to do the best that we possibly can. And some of the older generation, I'm seeing, they're like, oh my gosh, like, here we go again, another one, which is kind of interesting to me because I would have actually expected it to be a little bit the other way around. But yeah, the ones that we're fortunate enough to work with for the most part are just mentally, they're just ready. They're just like, we're going for it. I have coached some other owners that are not doing so well, that haven't been through it. And I just share the same stuff that we're talking about. Like, fast forward 5 or 10 years, turn around and look back. What do you want to be telling the story about in 5 or 10 years? Do you want to be saying you sat on the couch and you were whining and crying about it? Or do you want to say, hey, I did absolutely everything I could think of. I pushed, I helped my community, I helped my family. I looked for opportunities. I asked good questions. I learned something about myself. I personally grew, I professionally grew. Look, we don't know the answers. For all we know, this thing could get really bad in 4 months. I don't personally think it will, but we just don't know.
You're right. We just don't know. And you brought up, first of all, I just want to say I just absolutely love it. You brought it up a couple of times about when I look forward in 10 years, when I look back at this, what do I think of how I handled it? I just love that. And you brought up, we do have several different generations here at play, and, people that have gone through it again, and they kind of say, oh man, here we go again. But I absolutely love, the resources that are available to us, to everyone now. And I absolutely love a lot of the brilliant, absolutely smartest, brilliant, most ambitious people that I've met that are millennials, Gen Zs, and I like to talk about Gen V now too, Generation Virtual, because of this COVID-19 crisis. But I think that we all have so much to learn from each other, and we should never forget that we shouldn't write each other off because of generations. We want the positive mindset people, and there's always answers.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I believe that you can learn something from every single person you come in contact with. I don't care if it's a homeless person, a baby, a 5-year-old, a 20-year-old, somebody that's been in prison for their entire life and just got out. Like, there's always something that we can learn from them if we're open to it. And I think that's a great point that you bring up about not writing people off. Like, some of the youngest people have the best mindsets. Some of the oldest
Absolutely.
people, they have the best knowledge, and they're like, look, this is going to be fine. Just get to work, show up, do your best.
Everyone brings something to the table. They need what you bring to the table, and there's definitely something there's going to be a couple ahas that you get from them,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. I absolutely believe, I put all of my faith in that simple concept. So right now, we've only got a couple minutes left. I'd like to hear, where do you go from here? Where do we go from here? What advice do you have for people moving forward that are in business, small businesses?
Yeah. I mean, the best thing that we can do right now is just wake up every day and do the best that we can and stay focused where we do want to go. So, like, I've done a couple race car driving schools, and one of the first things that they always teach you is if you lose control of the car, whatever you do, don't look at the wall, because a lot of people do that, right? They lose control of the car, and the first place they look is the wall because they don't want to go there. So it's just like the same thing where you see the news article of some guy driving a Ferrari in the middle of the desert, and all there is like one phone pole, and the guy loses control and crashes into the only thing in the middle of the desert. And that's because when you lose control of it, we freak out and we tend to focus where we don't want to go. But what we need to do is be conscious and aware enough to take a breath and focus where we do want to go. It might not turn out great, but if we at least focus toward the direction we want to go, focus our time, our energy, our resources toward a direction we want to go, which is, even if it's just get me out of this or help me come out of this, the best person or the best business that I can be, whatever that means. Even if that means your business goes under, just focus on being the best person that you can be. Like, what can you learn? What can you do to help? Like, we tell our staff all the time, if you get caught up in thinking about yourself, like, oh my gosh, what if I lose my job? What if I lose my apartment or my home? If you get caught up focused on yourself, that's not a good place to be. So take a step back and say, how can I serve right now? How can I serve somebody that's in a place that is less fortunate than me or needs something much greater than I do? And when we take our focus off of self and put it on others, it just changes our perspective. So best advice I can give is, don't focus on the wall. Like, if you lose control and you're going to hit the wall anyway, you're going to hit the wall anyway. And you hit the wall the best you can. But at least if you're focused away from it and you're focused on coming out of this on top and coming out of this as a better person, then you're going to learn a lot in it. And
you've got me all fired up here. You got me all fired up. This is awesome. People are going to learn a lot from you. Tune in to Steve. So you only have a minute left. And Steve, just how do people get a hold of you? What do you do? I really hope that people get in touch with you because of this. You're awesome. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, you can find me on social media. I put a ton of stuff on social media. Just search for Steven Christopher. You should find me. Normally I'm somewhere near the top on like Facebook and LinkedIn and stuff. Or connect with me through Steve's profile. As far as the company goes, our website is witdelivers.com. If you run a home service business, or if you just want coaching, if you just want to talk, like you just need somebody to talk to, I'm more than happy to help. Just reach out, like help as many people as we can right now. This is going to be a really cool shift that we go through and come out on the other side.
Steve, great hanging out with you. This has been super awesome. Take it easy, man. Cheers.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
You bet.